You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside, you gotta take a stand, it don't hurt to hide. If you hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. I am a real American. Fight for the right.
And welcome into America Off the Rails. I am your host, Rick Robinson. We do this thing every Sunday night between, well, usually I'm about to say between because I do a 3-hour show on the week or 2-hour show on the weekdays. Probably about to be a 3-hour show soon. I still haven't decided yet. And I have another project potentially in the works, so we're going to have to wait and see how that goes first. Anyway, so we're here. We're live. Jen Homestead should be joining me in a second. I just realized I forgot to drop her the link, but she said she was going to be a few minutes late popping in. But she's only doing a guest spot, so I can't really say much about her if she is late. Because, anyway. So we're here. We're live. I hope everybody is having a great Sunday night. Thank you so much for joining us here. And since I do have my camera on, let's get rid of that iconic picture just for now. I will say, I think this moment in history has most likely won President Donald Trump the election as the 45th president of the United States. And I don't think the Democrats can do much to fix it now. And we'll get into that some today too, or tonight too. But we're here, we're live. And if you're not doing this, I don't know why you're not. It's Sunday night. I hope you have a cocktail and maybe a little bit of a smoke, because it's Sunday night. It's time to relax a little bit. It's been a crazy damn week. We just watched history break in front of us, and it's been nuts. Like the schadenfreude from the left has been insane. So all of a sudden they're like, no, we need to tone down the rhetoric. We need to stop. This is bad. You've been calling him Hitler for 9 years. You've been saying he was an existential threat to democracy for 9 years. How about you miss me with the we need to tone things down BS? All right. Some of the folks that really love doing this right now are all the right-wing defectors that went over to Biden's side. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Dude, you have been calling down the thunder on this man since you defected. That's one of the reasons why one of the first things they pointed out was, oh, this kid's supposedly a registered Republican. You know what? I don't care. I'll tell you why I don't care. There are multiple reasons why I don't care. One of which is Joe Biden has been courting disaffected Republicans for his entire presidency and then going out of his way to paint Donald Trump as Hitler. He's Hitler. He's an existential threat to our democracy. He's a threat to our way of life. He tried to overthrow our government, none of which is true. This is the part that pisses me off no end. If our media other than folks like me actually did their jobs, this would have never happened, because they bought into the hype. They bought into all we can make Trump out to be a monster and then we'll be able to do this for forever. And nobody really thought about what that would really mean. It's like none of them understood what the words at all costs really meant. They just didn't know, or they didn't care, or they just didn't think anybody would really do it. I don't know which one it is. I truly don't. I just know that right now they are like the dog that chased the car and they don't know what to do with it. Kind of like we were during the whole Biden falling all over himself at the debate. We didn't really know how to act because he basically did everything we said he was going to do. So we kind of lost our mess. But now we have them doing the same thing. But here's why, folks. Can somebody explain to me why the folks that have been calling this man Hitler for 9 years are suddenly like, oh my God, political violence has no place in America, and we hope he's okay. You know why they hope he's okay? Because they missed. Let's just call it like it is. They hope he's okay because they missed, and now they know we're pissed. This is why they're calling for everything to get dialed down, because they know they have jumped the shark, quite literally. Because they got everything they wanted, but it didn't go the way they wanted it to go, and now they're screwed. Everyone from the Bulwark crew to Joe Walsh, all of them are falling all over themselves. AJ Delgado at one moment is saying, I really hope he's okay, but now we really need to talk about Project 2025. You know what? We'll talk about Project 2025 all day long as you're willing to talk to us about Agenda 2030. Let's put all the cards on the table, because one thing is, we know Project 2025, even if it is the thing that Trump decides he wants to do, ain't nowhere near as bad as Agenda 2030. So let's just put all the cards on the table. Why are you guys not willing to talk about this stuff? Now they're like, we need to go back to rational discourse and rational debate, and we need to remember that it's okay to agree to disagree. Where was all that shit for the last 9 years? Why are you suddenly looking at us to take the high ground here, to take the high road? I'm not taking the high road because I already have the high ground. Y'all have fucked up one too many times. We have been telling you guys. I have been telling you guys since 2009, I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted to build my business in peace, leave something for my children and my grandchildren, and make sure that they had a better country handed to them than it was when I found it. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And y'all keep trying to take that opportunity away from me and from everybody else who thinks the way that I do. And it's time we have a serious conversation about what that really means. Because they've been having these serious conversations behind closed doors for over 100 years. I have told you guys this over and over and over again. Everything they do is slowly and methodically to do everything they can to just beat down the American ideal and beat down the American dream. And they nearly pulled it off with Joe Biden. This is why they're panicking right now. They're panicking because the Democrats feel their grasp on power slipping away. And much like they were trying to do with Donald Trump in 2016, because they were trying to set that man up as a traitor. I've been telling you guys this for a long time. They have been trying to set that man up as a traitor so that when he went to jail and when he was found guilty, there wouldn't be a single person willing to vote Republican for the next 100 years because Republicans were going to be branded as traitors. They have been trying to do it since 2015. They have kept trying to do it. It never sticks. It hasn't stuck because they don't have anything to attach it to. You now have even Nancy Pelosi on video saying that she screwed the pooch when it came to January 6th, but nobody wants to talk about that. Why are we not talking about July 13th in the same way we were talking about January 6th? Someone just tried to assassinate the former president of the United States and the sitting GOP nominee for the Republican Party for the presidential race in 2024. And we're not talking about this as if it was an attempted insurrection. Why are we not? Because they don't want us to. Because we actually have the ammunition. Sorry, I may have been too soon for that pun. But that's why they're not talking about it. That's why they don't want us talking about it. They just want us calm. They want us calming down. Exactly, Al. That's where I am. I want the left literally pissing themselves for all of the rhetoric, especially since 2020. I'm gonna since you guys know where that, so you guys will know where that came from, because I don't want to take credit for it. But I agree with Al. I want to see them pissing themselves over what they've done. Because they did all of this. They have taken a man who donated his salary for the entire time he was in office. They have taken a man who rearranged, reorganized, and rebuilt the New York City skyline. They have taken a man who has, unbeknownst to a lot of people, given money to people of color to start their own businesses and never even asked them to repay the loans. We played that video earlier this week. He has done so many things that he's never gotten credit for. But that's how you're supposed to do them. When you do these things, it's not so you can be in front of a camera and say, "Oh, look at me, look at all the good that I do." That's the difference between actual philanthropists and people that are just doing it to get noticed. Donald Trump, in my opinion, is an actual philanthropist, and he's also a badass. And if you don't believe me that he's a badass, I just want to direct you back to this picture. Can you imagine if that was Joe Biden? And before anybody puts any words in my mouth, I'm not saying anything about it being Joe Biden. I'm saying, can you imagine how that would have went down if it was Joe Biden? That man would have been cowering and blubbering, curled up on stage. Because it's just who he is. Instead, we have one of the most badass former presidents I've seen in a long time. I mean, dude, I don't know. As somebody who has been shot, I don't know very many people who would just shrug off even a small wound like that, get up, pump their fists, and basically start, yelling, "We're going to fight, we're going to fight, we're going to fight." And then pumping his fist like, "Let's fucking go" to the USA, USA chants. I don't know very many people that could do that. I especially don't know very many people that are nearly octogenarians that could do that. This man is amazing. And I'm not saying that I'm not Harry Sisson for Trump. That's not what this is. Up until last night, I was a reluctant Trump voter. I was voting for him because I agree with maybe 55-60% of what it is that he's trying to do. And I agree with about 10% of what Joe Biden's trying to do. That's why I was willing to vote for Trump. Even though and you guys I've been honest with you guys. I have huge issues with some of the things that Donald Trump did during COVID. And I've been open about that. I've been honest about that. And I get that there are certain people that just because of everything they've gone through, they can't pull the lever for him. I will never tell you who to vote for. That's not my job. I will tell you why I'm making the decisions that I'm making, give you information so that you can make whatever decision you feel best suits you. But I'm going to tell you right now, as I tweeted out in 2016, and that got picked up by American Action, or not American Action News, but what was it? One American News Network, and went everywhere. At this point, well, I guess it was 2020, not 2016. But I told him, I said, in 2016, I didn't vote for Trump. In 2016, I was so disenfranchised with everything, I changed my political affiliation and helped take the steps to make sure that I could change my political affiliation because Oklahoma has very weird electoral laws. I don't know if I did them any favors because the Republican part or the Libertarian Party is fucking retarded, but I tried. I tried to give Oklahoma a different choice because I felt like we needed one. And then in 2020, because of everything that man had done, even the stuff that I didn't think was going to work, worked. The stuff that shouldn't have worked, worked. Because he just stuck with it until he got it. And yes, has he had some business dealings that I have questions about? But if you've ever tried to start a business, who hasn't had businesses that have failed? Hell, I shuttered one in 2009. Primarily because I just kept thinking things were going to get better, and then Obama got elected, and suddenly everything got exponentially worse. And here I am again in one of the worst economies ever, trying to start businesses. I have 4 that I'm currently trying to cobble together into what I hope will be a dynasty someday. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I couldn't just keep doing the whole 9 to 5 thing. It was driving me nuts. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing video podcasts now and why we're starting to get so much more traffic, because I've just decided, you know what, if I'm going to do this, because I've had my toe in this water now since 2009. And I've always tried to rely on radio, actual radio, to be my launching point, because I tried really hard for syndication, and then the ex-wife got mad about that. So I backed off of that. Then I had a chance to get a morning show, and then that fell through. And I've just decided if I'm going to do this, the only way it's ever going to be done is if I do it my way. That's a lot of how Donald Trump has gotten things done. Like I said, I don't know any other politician in history that said, "Oh, I don't need my salary." You guys realize he's the only president that left office worth less than he was when he got in? Joe Biden's wealth has expanded exponentially since he became vice president and then president. Donald Trump was losing wealth because he was putting us first. Again, I don't know very many people who, when they are shot, one of the first things they would instinctually do is show the American people that they're okay. We have a lot to talk about with the Secret Service, and we'll be getting into some of that tonight when Jen joins, and then I'll be dissecting it a bit more over the Rick Robinson show through this week. But another theme that I have that's starting tonight, as we get ready to take the first break here in just a few minutes, is this. My pastor had a hell of a message today, and it was how no matter what your calling is, you need to make sure that the gospel is center to it. And that a calling isn't just about going into the ministry. You can have a calling to be a doctor. You can have a calling to be an accountant. You can have a calling to be a teacher. As long as you're keeping the gospel the center of everything that you do, then eventually God is going to use that to amplify his work and to bless you and those around you that you touch. And I firmly believe that. And I have for a long time. And it's one of the things that I didn't understand. And I've had this conversation on this show. I firmly believed I was supposed to go into the ministry because I knew there was a calling on my life. I just didn't know what it was. And at that point, I was young enough that I thought every calling had to do with the ministry. And that was something else that clicked with me today, because since I started doing this in 2008, 2009, that was when I started really realizing that a calling may not have been what I thought it was. and that this may have actually been my calling. And I started realizing that it had to be true, because when I do this, I feel differently than I do when I do anything else. If I do anything associated with this, whether it's writing a story, whether it's putting a show together, whether it's producing a show for somebody else, whether it's doing my own, I feel more alive when I do this than I have when I have ever done anything else. And that includes kicking indoors and chasing bad guys. And that should tell you something. And that's when you know that you're doing something that you're supposed to do. I think Donald Trump has found that moment for himself. At some point, he saw how bad things were getting in this country, and he finally decided, I'm going to do it. And man, everyone was cheering him on about it until he got the nomination. And then the knives came out. And then this time, they didn't even wait for that. And you kept hearing everyone say, Donald Trump can't be the nominee because that's who the left wants, because they know they can beat him. They didn't beat him the last time. Not legitimately. Did they wind up winning the day? Yes. But if there's any election in history that should have an asterisk next to it, it should be that one. Because anybody who understands data knows there was all kinds of things that happened in key districts that ain't never happened before and that nobody's been able to explain. The problem with what's happening right now is, now that has happened, there is no way that they're going to be able to outperform the cheat. There's just not. Because right now, I know people that were like, I am never voting for him again, that are freaking, okay, I'm going to be voting for him. Hell, I just saw Gay Patriot post on here and on Facebook, I will be voting for Donald Trump for the first time ever because of what these people have done. This is resonating with the American people in ways we haven't seen before. And it should be. Because these people have lost their minds. They have legitimately lost their minds. Now, we've got some video that I want to play here in a second. I just need to check to see if it's going to work the right way, because sometimes when I hot bunk things go weird. So,
last night proved the American political climate's hotter than...
Oh, I still have the volume down over here. That would be one reason why it might not be working right.
Never. And much to the left's dismay, the calls for violence are coming from inside their tent. The ugliness starts at the top. Just a few weeks ago, Biden sent an open invitation to the world, warning Trump's a threat to freedom, a threat to our democracy, and literally a threat to everything America stands for. Then he told his donors, it's time to put Trump in a bullseye. This is what Biden said at a rally in Michigan last week.
Donald Trump is a convicted criminal. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Trump is a threat to this nation. But Trump is even more dangerous now. No, I'm serious. He's unhinged.
That aged really well. Let's keep going.
And he snapped. He says if he loses, there will be a bloodbath. Trump said if he wins, he'll be a dictator on day one. He means it, folks. We're not going to let that happen. Over my dead body will happen.
So let's just take that part right there. So again, keep in mind, this was what, Friday? And then Trump was shot on Saturday. We're not going to let that happen. He's an even bigger threat now than he was then because he's unhinged. And he will become president again over my dead body.
America needs to wake up and realize that Trump and his mega republic is what they're trying to do. We're going to join them, we're going to engage them, and we're going to stop them.
Interesting word choices. Not we're going to defeat them in the realm of ideas. We're going to engage them. How many military terms has this man used when talking about how he was going to stop Donald Trump? It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. It's time to put a target on Trump. We're going to engage Trump and the MAGA Republicans, and we're going to fight them and we're going to stop them. And it looks like Jen's here, so we're going to bring her over. So we may actually skip the break now that she's here. Good evening, Miss Jen. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm just sitting here laughing at Biden talking all the smack he was talking on Friday that aged really, really well. How about you?
Not much. Sorry, it took me a sec to get on. We had like an impromptu dinner that just took a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Hey, not a big deal. You're a guest tonight, not a co-host.
I know, it's weird. But yeah.
All right, so I think we're almost done with this clip, but I'm going to try to make sure. Hang on.
The left space.
Yeah, I guess that was it. I thought we were almost done with it. But yeah, so you just missed all of his remarks on, I think it was actually this past Friday in Detroit, where he was basically saying that Trump was going to become president again over his dead body. Yeah, that aged real well.
Yeah. There's all kinds of
people
things
are
like
nuts.
that. Yeah, there's all kinds of
they're
things
everywhere.
like that that are backing up.
There's like a 3-minute montage of them calling down thunder since 2016. And they're like, where would you possibly think that anything that we said would have led somebody to do this? How do I hate you? Let me count the ways.
Yeah. You're like, what do you mean? This is very evident, all on its own.
Yeah, and I was saying at the beginning of the show, I think the most delicious moments for me are all the former Republicans turned, we're going to support Trump, or not Trump, but we're going to support Biden people that are all like, oh my God, y'all just need to tone it down. I'm like, you've literally been calling him Hitler for 4 years, if not longer. Why would we need to calm anything down?
So, by the way, you just try. Someone just tried.
Oh, all of a sudden you're kind of cutting down on me a little bit. I don't know what happened. This usually works really well, and for some reason you're kind of garbled all of a sudden. Hang on, let me try bringing you out and bringing you back in. Sometimes that fixes it. All right, how about now? Nope. I think I may have made it worse. What in the world is going on? All right, do me a favor and close out and come back in. Something may have just hiccuped. It's been doing that a little bit today. So if you come out and come back in, it may fix it. It's been hiccupy today. So see, Al, it's not just you. We have problems with it. There are some glitches with this new setup. It's just still allowing us to do things we haven't been able to do before. So okay, I think it's better now.
Do we?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. Also, it finally let me connect everything, which it wasn't doing before. So I think it was taking a minute loading and connecting for some reason. So I just got out of it and came back because that's better.
Yeah, sometimes it does that. But anyway, all right. So as I told everybody, you actually were coming on tonight to talk about some unique perspectives you've had in the past with some tertiary dealings with Secret Service, and I was actually reading through some of those today when I was supposed to be in Sunday school. So don't judge me. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and get that kicked off while we have a good connection. So why don't you let folks know about your experiences?
Yeah. So as we were, you kind of heard me last night live on the stream, I started kind of processing it as we were all talking and going, wait a second, I've had multiple circumstances in which I was near a presidential appearance. And part of that's because, I work in events, mostly in downtown Austin, and for a long period of time, I had 4 or 5 venues down there that I managed, and some often simultaneously. And a couple of them were really close to the Austin Convention Center. And Barack Obama, when he was president, 2 different times came down there. There were a lot of times he made, and then afterwards he came down once and he made an appearance at South by Southwest. But there were several other things he came for, and he always went to the convention center. And one of the times they did a whole video of him. So they did all the sidewalks and stuff for because they were going to video him walking from the convention center, which is just a couple blocks off of off of 6th Street, to walk towards 6th Street in the entertainment district and get that footage of him doing that while he's enjoying Austin, all of that kind of thing. So that's actually the only time that I was really approached. The rest of the time, when he would come to town, one of our venues is directly across the street from the convention center, and specifically the doors in which is considered the main entrance that most people would go in. And it's where the motorcade stopped and let him out. One of the times he just went straight into the building. The second time he did a short little presser right there in front. It was very quick, but they did it and it was just a certain little group of people. And again, I think it was for footage for them to then use later. But he stopped and stood on the sidewalk there. The convention center and my venue are what's called Trinity Street, that runs from Cesar Chavez up to 6th Street and beyond. So it's but it's very narrow. It's one lane each way, and it's extremely narrow. So it's not some big multiple lane street where it's, across the street is a whole long way. I mean, if there's cars parked on either side of the street, only one car can get down that road. So, this is not very far from the front door of my venue, which had a rooftop bar. That rooftop bar, if someone had just even a decent-ish arm, could easily have thrown a rocks glass or a beer bottle or anything and nailed whoever is standing across the street at the convention center in the area where Obama stood and gave his little presser in the head. Easily. This is not like some major league pitcher. You don't have to have some super strong arm. Like, someone could have done this. So I'm thinking back on it as we're talking about everything, and I'm like, I remember my boss and I being relatively surprised the first time that he came, that it was so close to all of these buildings. And, of course, when you're in that kind of industry, all the managers and all the owners of the businesses all around you. And we'd all talked because we'd all been given notices to prepare for the presidential motorcade and the appearance. And of course, they block off streets and they do all of that. But as far as actually coming and doing walkthroughs with us or any kind of security sweeps, posting Secret Service in our buildings, on our rooftops, that simply did not happen. And it did not just happen that first time, it didn't happen the second time nor the third time. And we're talking about being so incredibly much closer than the 400 feet at this Trump rally that the shooter was from the stage. And what would end up happening is, and we were always kind of like, I can't believe, like, we're right here. We can stand on this balcony and see him, and it's like barely 150 feet. Like, what? And we don't have to, we don't have to screen anybody coming in our doors while that's happening. We don't have metal detectors. Of course, you're not supposed to carry firearms in a bar, but if someone's concealed carrying, we wouldn't know. So we always kind of found that weird. The second time, it was kind of a similar thing. That's the one where he gave the presser, so he was standing still for a while. And of course, there was Secret Service on the ground. And of course, they had, it properly cordoned off so that people couldn't just like bum rush him or anything like that. But again, they didn't put anybody on our buildings. But APD, so the local law enforcement, did usually fill in gaps during that time. But I know so many of these officers, and particularly some of the higher ranking ones, one of which I'm related to, and they very, very often in this situation did not have a lot of guidance. They didn't have a lot of communication. It was like, yeah, y'all do the outside, like our initial zone. Y'all take care of the perimeter. They didn't get a lot of directive. So my guys would typically, I call them my guys because I loved them. I worked with them a lot. And they often protected me and my people too. they did put some people up on a roof. And one of our venues was about a block and a half, almost 2 blocks down, where there's direct roof like it's easy to get up on that roof, and there's a direct line of sight from where these entrances are that I'm talking about from that rooftop. Like it would have been so easy for someone to be up there and take a shot. And y'all remember, this is Obama, who at the time was incredibly popular, such a celebrity, and very beloved by the left. And they also still constantly feared that some right-wing terrorist was going to do something crazy to him. So they were even not having such strict security measures even back then. So I tell this story on Twitter, and I say, the only time I was really ever approached was when the third time, and this is after he was president, when he was doing this walk down the street thing. And that's just because they had to walk by the sidewalks of our businesses. And so they would come, and I got approached, and it was really just one of those things that they wanted to make sure that as we come along, we're going to push everybody aside. And if y'all could just stay in for that 5 minutes while he walks past, da 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 da. It was just kind of formality. It wasn't really like a big security concern. And but other than that, the only other time that I had actual law enforcement approach about the building, and this is the one that's directly across the street. Sorry, I'm jumbled a little bit. I can't have my notes up because of the way I have this located right now, or how I have this streaming. But was a third party security guards came, and they were very forceful. They were very rude. They were very aggressive. And I was in the middle of some crazy event weeks or whatever. And when it gets like that, like everybody says there's somebody, everybody wants in. I always have big acts playing, and by big acts, I'm not meaning like, just someone you've heard of. I'm talking Justin Timberlake, Kanye West, like The Weeknd, names like that. So obviously people try all sorts of stunts to get into these places. And so when it gets like that, I have no tolerance. Like if you're not official, if I haven't been given a heads up, then I'm not doing things. So these guys were really, really rude. And I was like, I don't know who you are. And they're like, well, we're with POTUS and da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, where's your credentials? And they're like, well, we're a security team. And I'm like, I don't know that. How can I know that? Where are your credentials? Well, you can see right here on my shirt. And I'm like, that means nothing to me. There's a million security teams that pop up all over this town for any given event. And like, you can just go make a security shirt right now and say that you're security. This is such a normal thing that actually happens, unfortunately. And so they said, okay, well, Secret Service and state troopers will be back. And I said, oh, great. When the badges come, I'll oblige. And so they did, but not the Secret Service. Troopers came, and really all they wanted to do was walk through. They walked through pretty quickly. They asked me if a couple questions just in general about our hours of operation, our staff, where all of our entrances were, and where we let people in and out of, almost like a mini fire marshal walkthrough. And that was about it. And then they left. And then they also and they asked if, when the time came, if they could be on our property, like standing on our property on our side of the sidewalk, just to watch and make sure. And I said, yes, of course. So really, that was local law enforcement again. That wasn't the Secret Service. And I have never been, after 3 appearances where this man, as he was president, a popular president, was in very close proximity to all of these buildings and all of these people that couldn't possibly have been screened. We were never approached, we were never walked through. And the only enforcement that was ever put around the perimeter, and I know that they did the inside of the convention center, that's their domain. Everything else fell to local law enforcement, and they didn't feel like they had much guidance. It was, relatively low risk. So there wasn't a whole lot to be super freaked out about. It's not like there were a lot of threats or anything that had been received, but you never know. And I just always remember feeling like this was wholly inadequate for a president of the United States. This was less than what was done when I did have Kanye. His security was incredibly more thorough and insane than the Secret Service was. So I just didn't find it, that as I was talking through it and thinking through like kind of my experience and what I witnessed, and what my officers that I knew well that are often protecting in that area, and then also come and are very accustomed to large events, and that's part of their specialty. I was just thinking about it and I'm going, wait, to be honest, I initially was very annoyed too. Like, there's no way they had to have swept that building. This is a failure of the Secret Service, which it still is. But I mean, thinking like this should be protocol, this is standard, duh. There's no reason why that shouldn't have been guarded and shouldn't have been monitored or patrolled. Da, da, da. And then I started thinking, I'm going, wait a second though. We were within throwing distance of our president and we weren't monitored. We weren't patrolled. We weren't swept. My actual venues were open to the public, a lot of them, and had none of that went on. So then I went, wait a second, I don't see any reason at all why they would have done this here, particularly not with a former president, not one currently in office, who's also not even technically the nominee yet, as he hasn't actually gone through the process, which will start tomorrow. So the more I thought about it, the more I went, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So I wrote my thread about it. And I had some pushback, including a few people that are just like, there's just no way. Sorry, I don't buy it. Or, I don't think that I think that you probably just didn't know, but they did talk to someone like with your venue or with your. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand. It's my boss and me, and we were those are the only two people you could talk to about any of this stuff. It's the only people that could approve anything. The only people that would walk anybody through. There's just no way. And they're like, well, you just didn't know then because they definitely did it. And I was like, I promise you they did not. And they're like, you had snipers on your roofs and you didn't know. I mean, I just had a lot of pushback. Well, that tweet came out today, or that report came out today, about the New York Times reporting that basically the only part that the Secret Service was actually responsible for was the immediate area of the rally, and then everything outside of that was left to local law enforcement. And I had at least four of those people who had really kind of been, and kind of antagonistic with me last night. And I'm like, I get it, y'all. I get that you don't believe it or that you think it would be different. I'm just telling you my experience. So that's why it just isn't surprising to me that this was the case here, or if this was the case. And sure enough, they released that report that says that, yep, the rest was left to local law enforcement. That building was so far outside of the regular perimeter of security that the Secret Service would be monitoring. So no. Nope, not theirs. And I also talked in my thread how it was always nerve-wracking to the APD officers, the AFD firefighters, and any state troopers that were used, or members of SWAT that were used a lot of times for this, because they're used to doing big events and crowd control. And that it was always, I always felt bad for them because it was nerve wracking, because they knew, even though it was a Secret Service's job to protect the president, and even though they gave them little guidance other than, beef up outside the perimeter, cool, cool, cool. Um, they knew that it would fall on them. Like, the blame would fall on them if, heaven forbid, anything went wrong. They would push back and go, well, those guys were supposed to be doing it before it ever got to us, was what they figured the Secret Service would say. So when that came out today and they said, yeah, no, that wasn't our responsibility, that was local law enforcement, I was like, sorry, y'all. And I did get 4 or 5 people that DM'd me and they're like, holy crap, you were right. That's exactly what you said happened in Austin. And I said, I know, I wasn't trying to I didn't know if things had changed or what should be. And I'm not saying it's the way it should be. I'm just saying what my experience was you would think, what we think is kind of that they're so kind of badass, and they can be, but like they're so badass and they're so all over it. And, absolutely Secret Service won't let this happen, won't let that happen, won't do this and won't do that. And they're so strict and they're so that. And it's like, but my experience has not actually been that. I also went to college at the same time at Jenna Bush for part of it. So, and my friend lived down the street from her. And so I had a few interactions with Secret Service back then too, mostly us walking home drunk from a bar trying to make them laugh as they stood outside her house. But that's a different story. That's a different story. But
That
so
would
I
be
just
that,
think,
that would be a show for maybe a he said she said or something.
right, right. Yeah, I got some good ones. But yeah, I think that, our minds have it as being this certain way. And so you'd think, oh, they sweep everything within 2 blocks in a 2-block radius, or, they definitely put people on all the rooftops and they definitely did. And it's just not simply true. It's just not.
Well, I mean, so the thing about it is, if I'm from some of the people that I've been listening to since JFK and past Reagan, they kind of did. And then all the policies and procedures started getting changed again. So that's why a lot of people are like, we don't see why this would have happened this way. But
Right.
taking things even a step further, now knowing that that area was outside of their purview and was left to the jurisdiction of local PD, there's been a story that's come out today that the AP released that apparently there was a law enforcement officer who actually saw the sniper, and apparently the sniper pointed the rifle at him. So dude went back down the ladder and didn't say nothing to nobody. I don't know how much of that I believe because the only thing I've been able to find of that story is the AP headline. Anything I click on, it goes to a completely different story. So I don't know if I believe that or not, but I know I've seen other people running with it. If that's true, then there are still people that need to be called onto the
Yes.
carpet and policies need to be
Well,
reviewed and everything else.
and I could maybe believe that he saw him. I don't believe he wouldn't have said anything. I just don't buy that part of it. I can buy the saw him, starts to get down, tries to radio or get attention to somebody, and then it starts happening. And so
Yeah,
there's not enough time for it to happen. You know what I mean?
that could be just as plausible too. I mean, and here's the thing, having been somebody who's done that kind of work, but not in that specific circumstance, I can say that there is a good chance that he may have tried to go back down the ladder just to be able to have time to get on the radio without getting shot. I don't really
Or get
know.
his weapon out or who knows what. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the thing about it is, we can Monday morning quarterback this thing all day long. The simple fact of the matter is, this never should have happened, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the fact that for the last 9 years, the left has painted Donald Trump as the Antichrist.
Yes. And let me tell you though, I also want to point out a difference between like having something, for instance, like a Butler County situation where you're gonna have probably cops that have not done a lot of urban policing and possibly not even much crowd control, any sort of kind of like higher threat risk, whether it be a threat of something like this or just a threat of someone in the crowd being unruly, having someone show up with a weapon, whether they're meaning to discharge it in that kind of way or not, having firecrackers, all those kinds of things that come with like parades and Mardi Gras and huge downtown Halloween nights or a festival or whatever, versus like my experience, which was with the Austin Police Department, that's extremely familiar with it. I mean, hell, we close down 6th Street every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and it's just a free for all. So, and so they have the operative of treating it as one of those events with the added knowledge and experience of what they do when they protect the governor. And so that's what my friend who's a lieutenant said, is that that's what they went off of when they didn't get a plan from the Secret Service, or they didn't get a very good guideline and map of what they were needing, where they should be positioned, all that kind of thing. They treated it the way they treat the governor, who they do often protect, as the governor lives in Austin. So they had a plan of action just based off of that to fall back on. Whereas, in other areas that don't have those kinds of experiences, they may not have much more than whatever the Secret Service gives them, and just kind of an intuitive, okay, I guess we need a guy here, there, and there. I'm sure they had a kind of a plan, but it's not the same kind of I guess the weight of it isn't the same if it's not something they're used to doing on a regular basis and have a finely well-oiled machine for those kinds of situations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. So, I don't really want to keep you because you're only doing a guest appearance tonight, but I know there was one other point of relevance that you wanted to weigh in on regarding the current head of Secret Service.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this is just a small connection too. But so the head of Secret Service used to be the director of security or head of security, whatever the title is, for PepsiCo. And I looked up the years, and she was definitely doing it at this time when I worked with PepsiCo security, because I had an event that was sponsored by PepsiCo, but it was Taco Bell. So y'all know the Doritos Locos Tacos, right? So they actually launched at my venue. The very first time they appeared anywhere in the United States other than test groups was at my venue during South by Southwest. I want to say 2012, maybe 2011, 2012, something like that, maybe even 2010. And anyway, but because of that, so PepsiCo owns Taco Bell, and it was this huge thing. And I mean, they sent the big guys in. Like they sent the guy that had just done the marketing for the Super Bowl to come down and handle it. Like it was, I had the big guns. And so then they also sent me, I had my own like bar security, but then they brought in their own PepsiCo security, which I loved actually, because even a lot of times I'd have troopers, sometimes I'd have armed security for events, sometimes people had their own. The companies would have their own, and I just provided additional. But that was seriously, other than when all the troopers lined up around me and then kicked out Kid Cudi because he shoved me up, his manager shoved me up against the wall 5 months pregnant, which is also a story for another day. Boo
He
him.
was asking you a question.
Nobody supported his music. But he but other than having like a complete wall of troopers, the PepsiCo security was the best I've ever had. And so so it's weird because I'm like, okay, well, on the one hand, people are dogging her because they're like, okay, all you did was have PepsiCo security. How hard can that be? Yuck, yuck, yuck. And I'm like, I don't know. Like they go and they do security for like massive ass festivals and like really chaotic events, and they were really, really good. So I don't know that it translates over to government. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it has so far, from what we witnessed yesterday. But I just thought that that was an interesting tidbit to throw in there, that also had an experience with PepsiCo and specifically their security division, and it was a very, very positive experience. And those guys did not f around.
Well, so two things. One, Delaney has a question in the chat. When are you publishing your memoirs?
She's not the first to ask. I should put it all down someday. Rex
You
gets on me about it a lot.
you probably should, because according to Rex, he'd buy that and give copies as gifts. So you already have an open audience.
See, I knew it. I told you Rex gets on me about it a lot. He's like, you need to write these down.
But so another quick point before I go ahead and let you go, and then we're going to probably take a quick break because we're going to go a little bit long tonight. But another quick point I just wanted to kind of lay in is, look, I get it. DEI is a bad thing. The optic of the female Secret Service agent who was visibly confused and then couldn't figure out her holster in the middle of an emergency was really, really bad.
Right.
But you have to remember who the actual top boss is in all this stuff. There is a director of the Secret Service, but she also answers to somebody else. And guess who that is? Mayorkas.
Ugh.
So
Ugh. Also, some people are getting really, really bent out of shape over the whole why do we have women? I don't fully agree with the whole why are women even there in the first place at all kind of situations, because I know that you like me have known quite a few really badass women that can do jobs like that very, very well.
very well.
And so it should be about the skills, not about the gender. I do understand a size being an issue. Like you need someone in certain positions to be a certain size or more. But I also totally like, so you know, I don't care for the total just anti making it about all women, and no women should ever be in any of these positions. But at the same time, I get it because it looks horrible and it does erode some trust. And, you can argue all day about whether anybody would have noticed if it was a dude or not doing the same exact thing. I argue we would. In this kind of situation, we absolutely would, and be dogging that dude and saying he should be fired. But I just can't get too bent out of shape over it because it does look like they were a little out of their depth. And now I'm hearing that possibly it was not really all Secret Service, that they had temporary Homeland Security staff members that were
Yep.
filling in.
Pam just dropped that in the chat. Dan Bongino said there were only a few actual SSA there, that Homeland Security provided a lot of bodies, and she's betting Holster Girl was one of those.
I would bet too. And just the look on her face, and several of they paced around and they didn't quite know what to do. They looked very panicked. Um, that could explain a lot. We'll see how that pans out, if that comes to be true or not. But it would definitely explain a lot, in my opinion. So yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Thanks for coming on, because like I said, you did that a lot more justice than I could have. So.
Yeah, sorry y'all, it was a little bit jumbled. I had notes and then I couldn't get to them because of how I'm having to stream this right now, and so it was a little bit all over the place, but I think y'all understand. And if you want to, you can go on my feed and read the whole thread. That's a little bit more precise and succinct. So Yeah, but all right. Well, y'all have a great evening. Thanks, Rick.
Not a problem. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, I've got a little bit more stuff I want to get to. We'll probably run maybe 15, 20 minutes over. You are listening to the America Off the Rails show. I am Rick Robinson. We are live on KLRNRadio. We do this thing every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, I keep trying to drop into Rick Robinson mode. Anyway, we'll be right back. Don't go too far. Or if you do, make sure you come back. Give you a few minutes to get up, stretch your legs, maybe refresh your drink, maybe light up a little bit of whatever helps you think. I'm Rick Robinson. This is my show. And I never knew when I came up with the title of this podcast how prophetic it would be. We'll be right back.
You gotta take a stand, it don't hurt to hide. If you hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I gotta be a man, I can't let it slide. I am a real American. Fight for the rights of
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now. 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
I feel strong about right and wrong. Don't take trouble for very long. I'll get something deep inside of me. Courage is the thing that keeps us free. I am a real American. Fight for the rights.
I just don't even know why the time.
I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life. I am a real American.
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, we're going to run just a little bit long because I kind of feel like we need to, because there was still material I wanted to get to that we hadn't covered yet. So I've played this video before, but it kind of has new relevance now, in my opinion. So I'm going to make the chat go away a bit now that we're not syncing too, because it makes my screen a little funky. And it makes it easier for me to keep things cleaner looking. So bear with me for a second. Except now it's being... Yeah, that almost worked. But that doesn't help on you guys' part. Hang on. Okay, there we go. All right. So without further ado, I want you guys to be reminded of all of this right here. Now, keep in mind, this was played recently at one of Trump's trials, and it's over 11 minutes long. Just give it, just watch.
Uprisings.
Well, except now I've got to figure out what's going on with the volumes. It was working a second ago.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest.
Apparently I saw music. Hang on.
You got to be ready to throw.
This is what happens when I try to do things in multiple screens. Good news is it was almost done on its own anyway. All right, so let's try this again.
Throw a punch. Well, you have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. No,
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're going to go in there, we're going to...
Well, this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
And there's more. I promise to fight every single day. One, I'm a fighter and I'm relentless, but I'm a fighter and I'm relentless. A fighter and I'm relentless. I will fight like hell.
But the way I see it now is that we pick ourselves up and we fight back. That's what I think it's all about. We stand up and we fight back. We do not back down. We do not compromise, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You can either lie down, you can whimper, you can pull up in a ball, you can decide to move to Canada, or you can stand your ground and fight back. And that's what it's about. We do not turning this country over to what Donald Trump has sold. We are just not. Look, people are upset and they're right to be upset. Now we can whimper, we can whine, or we can fight back. Me, I'm here to fight back. I'm here to fight back.
And how exactly do you plan on fighting back?
Just forget. We do not want to forget. We will use that vision. Fight harder, we fight tougher, and we fight more passionately than ever. We still have a fight on our hands. Fight hard for the changes Americans are demanding. Get in the fight, to winning the fight, fighting. He's fighting. We'll use every tool possible to fight for this change.
Is
We'll
violence
fight,
a tool
we'll
for
fight,
connecting for
to
friends?
fighting hard, serious about fighting and fight. We got to get on our front foot and fight back. Problems, we call them out and we fight back. I'm in this fight. I am fighting. Get in this fight. Get in this fight. Get in this fight. And fighting, we all need to be in the fight. We all need to stay in the fight. We stay in this fight. We fought back. We fought back. I am not afraid of a fight. I am in this fight all the way. You don't get what you don't fight for. Our fight. We are in this fight for our lives. This is the fight of our lives.
But we are going to make sure that this fight does not end tonight.
This is a fight for our lives, the lives of our friends and family members and neighbors. It is a fight, and it is a fight that we're going to work to make sure continues. It's a fight. It is a fight. It is a fight, and that's what this fight is for.
Well, I'm wired to fight anyone who isn't doing their job for us. I'm John Tester, and you're damn right. I approve this message.
And I'll have lots of fights ahead of us, and I'm ready to stand up and keep fighting. We have to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We need to fight, and we need to fight. We're going to fight. We got a few more fights. I'm going to take the privilege of a few more fights, and we have the biggest fight of all. I will never stop fighting. I will fight like hell to fight back against anyone.
We need to say loud and clear that we are ready to fight.
It's a bare knuckles fight.
Now they're going to have to actually fight back against people.
The fight has to be conducted.
It's so important that we need to fight.
Fight that fight.
We have been fighting.
I was fighting very hard. Time is of the essence, both in terms of the fight.
I think we should be fighting.
Well, I really believe we need to fight.
We're simply not going to take this line down. We're going to keep fighting.
So I'm telling all my colleagues, this is the fight of our life.
Whose side are you on? Who are you fighting for?
They're fighting, I'm fighting. We're both fighting.
We will fight back. We're not going to just take this line down.
I'm just going to keep the fight up.
What we have to do right now is fight as hard as we can.
We have to rise up and fight back.
And so we're going to fight, and we're going to continue to fight.
I am going to be fighting like hell.
Keep fighting, or we kept fighting and we did. So we're going to keep fighting.
We have to be fighting every single day.
We have to fight back, and we have no choice but to do that. I think we're doing the right thing to do that.
Fighting.
And I'm fighting.
Well, our job right now is to fight.
It's really important. I'm going to keep fighting.
I'm asking for the support of people across the country to fight back.
And you got to be fierce in fighting.
Keep fighting.
Brown have been fighting.
I've told President Biden I will fight like mad.
I'll tell you what, now more than ever, we have to fight like hell.
We have these battles on the floor of the Senate. I'm going to go down and battle, and I'm going to be down there on the floor fighting.
Right. But we Democrats are fighting as hard as we can. Democrats are fighting as hard as we can. Credit it in any way, but we're fighting back.
What we've got to do is fight in Congress, fight in the courts, fight in the streets, fight online, fight at the ballot box.
Fighting and pushing around the clock, fighting, continue to be brave and be strong and keep fighting. We're getting people engaged in the fight. We're fighting. We've got to keep fighting and keep focused. Continue to fight.
Fight. This is going to be a fight.
We'll also fight him and challenge him in every way that we can, in the Congress, in the courts, and in the streets.
To continue fighting, we each have an important role to play in fighting. In this fight, like so many before it, it has been a fight. The American people are going to have to fight. And about the importance of fighting, I will always fight. Fighting. But we always must fight. Joe Biden has a deep, deep-seated commitment to fight and to fight. And about the importance of fighting, we always must fight, to fight, to fight, and to fight. As our willingness to fight continued the fight, as Joe Biden says, to fight. It's about fighting for what we're fighting for. We will tell them about what we did to fight.
Really about a fight. But truly, I do believe that we're in a fight. I believe that we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. So there's a fight in front of us. A fight for all of these things. And so we're prepared to fight for that. We know how to fight. Our ongoing fight, a fight. We know how to fight. We like a good fight. We were born out of a fight. This is what is our fight right now.
There's the fight, there's the fight, there's the fight, and then there's the fight to defend. Back in the fight.
Our mission is to fight. That is the guiding purpose of House Democrats, fighting. He has never forgotten who he is fighting for. Marched and fought, and we just have to fight. But this is a fight for our country.
Fighting the health crisis of COVID.
I led the fight and continue to fight. Never, never, never give up this fight. I'm a citizen fighting for it. It means not only fighting a leader who fought for progressive change, as a lawyer who fought for people his whole life, as well as other fights and I'm proud that to have Tim in this fight with me. And above all, it's time for America to get back up and once again fight.
We will fight when we must fight. What kind of America are we fighting for? We've been fighting, and we need to fight, but we also need to fight for an America.
I am going to wake up every day and fight hard. I have been fighting. We're going to fight. We are going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. And I will fight.
We're in the fight of our lives right now.
We fight like hell to fight.
To fight.
Fight against the Trump administration. Democrats are standing up to fight. We're in this fight in a serious way. Issue of fight.
We're eager to take on this fight. Get in this fight, and we'll fight it out. I have taken on the fight.
As representatives for the people, as legislators here in the halls of Congress, our job is to fight.
Who has led us in this fight.
Is to fight for this fight.
And every day I'm in the United States Senate, I will fight.
And one of the things we do is fight, should fight.
Because my constituents send me here each and every day to fight.
We have been fighting this fight, and we need to be side by side so we can succeed. And so I hope that you will all join us in our fight. And if we fight, and as the next governor of Georgia, I will never stop fighting. We can show the old guard something new, and we can fight.
My fight, those fights need to fight an administration.
Requiring us to fight, and fight we will. Their fight. And their fight, and their fight. The fight is a fight. And so when we fight the fight that we are in, when we are fighting this fight, we fight this fight. The strength of who we are is we will fight. And we will fight, the fight, we will fight. We are in a fight. The fight. It is a fight, and it is a fight born out of patriotism. This is a fight, fighting. I say fight on, fight on, fight on, fight on.
I'm here to say one more time publicly.
I tried to kill
This is not a fight I wanted to take on, but this is the fight in front of us now.
Hi, Emma Reckenberg here. If you like this video, there's a whole lot more to see.
Hi, Emma. All right, now Emma's gone for everybody. All right, so yeah, fun times, right? So yeah, granted, some of the heavier stuff wasn't really in that take of it. I have that one too. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick, cause but yeah, I just want you guys to understand this is the stuff that they have been saying for years. For years. It's just I don't even know where we go from here. Other than them telling us that we need to calm down is laughable. I'm going to see if I can find that one, but if not, we may come back to it tomorrow. But because I didn't realize how long we actually are. So as we do get ready to wind things down, there is a point I was trying to make before Jen joined us, and then I got distracted trying to get through some content real quick. And that was the message of my pastor today, talking about how the gospel has to be center in everything that you do. As a conservative, as someone who believes that this country is the best in the world and can be again, we need to get back to this very central tenet. The Constitution has to be the center of everything that we do. All of it. Even the parts that we may not necessarily agree with right now, because we can always find a way to fix those later. Like, I firmly believe we need to go back through and remove the 16th Amendment, and I think the 17th Amendment needs to go too. I really do. But as far as everything that we believe, when we tell people what we believe, we need to make the Constitution the center of our argument. And that's one of the things that I have been having a lot of issues with lately with staunchly pro-life people that are adamant that there needs to be a constitutional abolition to abortion. We aren't there yet. We can't make that happen. I want it to happen. Please don't misunderstand me. I want us to get to a point in this country where we don't even have to have a constitutional abolition of abortion. I want us to be a country that puts life first. But we're not there. We're not there because we haven't been there since 1972. The pendulum is starting to swing the other way. I talked about this a little bit on the Rick Robinson show last week. The Gen Z folks. Sorry, I had a brain fart moment. Maybe I am turning into Joe Biden. Oh no. But no, the Gen Z folks, a lot of them, especially the ones that are, coming of age now and are reaching adulthood, have realized that family's kind of the way to go. They're not as promiscuous as we used to be. They're not this whole, let's find out how many partners we can bag before we turn 30 and then finally find a way to settle down. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody when I make these comments. Please don't misunderstand me. You have to live your life however you think your life needs to be led. As long as you're not doing anything to hurt anybody else, I really don't care. This goes back to what I said in the opening of the show. We just wanted to be left alone. The government keeps trying to tell us that we can't be left alone. And now, not only can we not be left alone, they are coming after us with everything that they have. They have designated us a terrorist group because we support Donald Trump. They have been doing that for years. Joe Biden, during one of his televised speeches, had the Marines flanking him while he talked about what an existential threat the MAGA movement was to America. And they don't understand why it is that people are taking these things as a call to arms, as a call to action. When you say Donald Trump has to be stopped at all costs, yesterday was what at all costs looks like. So if that wasn't what you meant, then you need to stop saying it. If that wasn't what you meant, you need to stop saying it. Plain and simple. It's not that complicated. But they make it complicated because they want it to be complicated, because they want you to be okay with whatever they say, whenever they say it, but you have to be obsequious and you can't cross a line and you can't say anything that might be construed as rhetoric, because then you're an enemy of the state. But when they do it, they're fighting for democracy. So no, don't tone it down. Am I saying do what they did? No. But I am saying it's time to start calling them out on their BS. They don't get to call somebody Hitler for 9 years and then go, oh, we're praying he's okay. You don't get to say that to me. You are the reason he was shot at. You don't get to say that to me. You don't get to say that to the American people. You don't get to say that to anybody, because this wouldn't have happened if not for your BS. For 9 years, you threw everything you could throw at this man directly at him, including an assassination attempt, and he walked it off. I need you guys to understand something as we start closing out the show. And I want to show you this again. This man was shot yesterday, went and played golf today, and then was joking with his caddy. Apparently, he sunk a putt and then looked at his caddy and said, "You want to know the difference between me and the shooter? I don't miss." Now he's in Wisconsin, getting ready for the RNC. Joe Biden can't even stay awake for more than 4 hours. But Donald Trump is the existential threat to America. You want me to be honest with you tonight? The communist infestation of the Democratic Party is the existential threat to America. And that has to be dealt with. And it needs to be dealt with first, if possible, through the ballot box. Because we have let this go too long. And I pray this is a wake-up call for the rest of America that has been on the fence about who it is that they should be voting for. Because even if you only agree with half of what he's saying, it has to be more than you agree with from the other guy. And at the end of the day, again, if you believe what I believe, you need to start making the Constitution the only litmus test for everything that you do. The only litmus test for everything that you do should, for now and forever, be the Constitution of the United States of America. If it doesn't flat out say that the government can do it in the Constitution, they can't do it. If it doesn't flat out say that you can do it in the Constitution, you can't do it. That needs to be the litmus test for everything that we do from this point forward. Once we get through this mess and through the next 4 years and hopefully clean some house, that needs to be where we go from that point forward. But for now, we need to stand up. It is time to be recognized. It is time to not back down. And it is definitely time for them to realize that they have pushed one time too many and have pushed too far. These are my closing thoughts for the America Off the Rails show, July 14th, 2024. I am Rick Robinson. We do this thing again every Sunday night, usually around 10 p.m. Eastern, sometimes a little bit later if something comes up, and usually for about an hour. I'll be back tomorrow doing the Rick Robinson show, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on KLRN Radio. You can follow along with us at KLRN Radio. As Al pointed out earlier, we are having some website issues, so for now we are streaming directly to X, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. We are available on Spreaker. We also have a live feed that will be spinning back up in the next day or so on Live 365. But once I spin that one back up, it's going to be always on. That's why I've got it pulled down for right now. But we've got to go, folks. I've run a bit longer than I meant to, but we had to get through some notes. I'll be back tomorrow talking about, unfortunately, probably more of the same. But you got to talk about what you got to talk about. I'm Rick Robinson. This is my show. You can follow along with me at RowdyRick73. You can find me as a contributor on Twitchy.com, MisfitsPolitics.com, TheLoftusParty.com, as the executive producer of the Loftus Party podcast, which usually drops on Tuesdays. And you can find me as the producer of most of the content around here. I will see you guys when I see you, hopefully tomorrow afternoon. Thank you so much for everybody who's tuning in. Last time I checked the feeds, we were up to almost 300 on a Sunday night when there's a lot of news. That ain't bad. Again, we'll see you guys when we see you. Take care.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. It's game over.
Come back tomorrow afternoon for the Rick Robinson show. Or you can tune in earlier for Richard Harden with God's Pure Word of Faith. We have that too.
Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie. The preceding program is copyrighted through KLRNRadio, effective 2024, all rights reserved. All intellectual property rights are held by Double R Solutions, LLC.